get this rolling. There we go. All right. So, our preview for the quiz. Again, the help sheet that you've got, you're going to want to be referencing as you go because you get to use it tomorrow. So, hey, good deal. All right. Part 1, simple interest, way back at the beginning. Use the simple interest formula. I equals PRT. Okay. On your help sheet, breakdowns of what the different things are. Principal's your original amount. Rate needs to be as a decimal, so just a reminder, you can take the percent and divide it by 100 if you're not comfortable doing it in your head. And then time is in years, but if I try to throw a curveball and say, hey, it's in months, I want to divide by 12, so there's 12 months in a year. So, Mike made a $700 deposit into a money market account for 5 years. Okay, just a suggestion. I like to label my pieces as I go, just because it's easier then to be able to... Why did I call that D? That's P. Oh, because it said deposit. Okay. I don't feel so bad now. For 5 years. The account had a 4% simple interest rate. Remember, your R is not 4. If you put your R as 4, that's going to be 400%. Holy moly. I'm in for that at 400%. But if I take 4 and I divide it by 100, that decimal that I get is going to be my rate. So how much interest did Mike make? What was the total value of his account after 5 years? Okay, 2 different questions being asked. So here, my interest equals my principal times my rate times my time. Straight up multiply them together. Nothing fancy. Okay, so that's how much interest I earned. I earned $140 worth of interest. Okay, so that's my first question. Total value is taking your interest plus your principal. Okay, how much did I start with? I'm going to tack the interest on. So 140 plus 700. And get that answer. And just as an FYI, you may have noticed already, the total value is interest plus principal. So we've even got that in our help sheet if we need it, just to remind me of what's going on. And so my plan is, as we do these, I'm going to be doing the odds in a minimum. I might do some evens if something weird goes on. But like if it's the exact same thing, like it is in number 2, I'm going to leave that for you, knowing that there's an answer key up here and online as well. So I'm going to scooch up a little here. Number 3, we'll change it up a little bit. Jennifer borrows $3,500 from her parents. Holy moly. Silly people. Principal. To buy a used car. Okay, that's not quite so bad. She has to pay them back in 30 months. Ooh, we'll chat about that in a minute. With a 2% simple interest rate. Divide the 2% by 100. Again, not 0.2, that'd be 20. Not 2, that'd be 200. But 0.02. But let's go back to time for a minute. Is my T going to be 30? No, we're not giving her 30 years to pay back the loan. That'd be kind of crazy because it says months here. So again, as it says on the help sheet, if you're in months, divide by 12. And that will become your time. If it says years, use the number. If it says months, you gotta be careful. Party's trying to pull a fast one on you. So, interest is principal times rate times time. And whatever we get, okay? Now, again, needing to read carefully what the question is asking. I figured out the interest. But is that what I'm looking for? Let's see. How much will she have paid back in total at the end of the loan? I don't want to put 175 here. My gosh, I'd be ticked as a parent. You borrowed $3,500 from me. You're going to give me $175. So again, total is principal plus interest. You got to add these up. Okay, so don't get sucked in and put 175. I'd give you some credit if you did that. I'd probably make a funny little comment like, wow, I want to borrow money from you. You know, if I could borrow $3,500 from you and you only expect me to give you $175 back, I'm in. But again, watch what the blank is asking for, okay? Not too bad otherwise. Now, again, 4, real similar to 3. So I'm going to leave that alone. I wanted to get one of those month questions in. Make sure we're good here. Okay, now we're going to start messing around a little bit. We flip over to the back. Nathan takes out a 5.5% simple interest loan. Remember, that is not, I know it's a decimal, but it's not the one we need. So my rate is 0.055. Simple interest loan for 8 years. All right. To buy a motorbike. If Nathan paid $880 in interest, that's not the principal. What was the principal or the original amount of the loan? Okay. We got to do a little more algebra this time. So, if interest, P, Hardy, P, principal times rate times time. Let's plug in the numbers that we have and see what happens. So, I have the interest. I do not have the principal. I have the rate. And I have the time. That's kind of weird. So I'm going to multiply those two together and leave that with my P. And then here comes the question. So I've cleaned up everything else I can. I need to know what P is. I need to get P alone. How am I going to get the 0.44 out of there so I can find P? Divide. So 880 divided by 0.44, the original principal of the loan was $2,000. Now, this is up to you. I am leaving you some flexibility on your help sheet. Like for part 1 here, and I'll uncover this again in a minute, I gave you the formulas, but notice I put a space in here for other examples. So maybe you're like, okay, if I get a weird one like principal, I'm not sure what I would do. Maybe you write something like this and put like principal at the top as a label. And then if you get a question that says, hey, find the principal, you have an example to help you do it. Again, everybody's going to be different on that. Some of you, if you have the formula, you're good. Some of you, if you don't have a specific example, it might be trickier. So maybe that's something that you want to go ahead and have there. Let's keep playing with weird. Let's go to 7. Still going to be weird. Bijan is saving money for college. She earned $600 interest on her initial deposit, her principal, of $1,500 on a 48-month, 4-year investment. I was nice and put the 4 in there that time. Will I be that nice tomorrow? Who knows? What was her simple interest rate? Trying to find the rate. So, again, I'm a fan of jotting down the formula and just plugging in the stuff I have. So I have I have P. I do not have R, but I have T. So just like we did on number 5, except that it's a different variable, multiply the two values together that you have. And just like number 5, whatever's with my variable is what I'm going to divide by. Now, the one thing that I have to really watch it for here, you're like, okay, so R equals 0.1, or I'm going to put a 0 on there. Remember, if you're going from a rate decimal back to the actual rate, you multiply by 100. And I even could have done that here. That is your interest rate. The decimal is not the rate. So that, maybe that throws you for a little bit of a loop. Maybe you make note of that somewhere. You're like, hey, if the rate's a decimal, I can multiply it by 100 to get the percent back. That would work too. So again, we're just kind of playing through, manipulating things a little, and we're going to end up having some one-step algebra that we're having to do. A little bit of math in that way. So now, let's keep playing a little bit. And like I said, if I need to come back and do a couple of the evens, we're getting stuck, I can do that. Okay, part 2. Compound interest. Okay, new formulas to play with here. Again, when we do compound, TV is your total, the principal plus the interest. P is your principal, rate, time. If I just want to find the interest, I take my total value minus my principal. You're going to see that. We're going to do some of those. And we'll talk about finance charges when we get to one of those. So when I get to number 9 here, let's see what we got. Okay, what's the total value out of an investment of $3,300 principal? That's what I started with. Earning a 12% interest rate. Just divide that thing by 100 for 5 years. So you're like, okay, so what am I up to here? Well, let's see. So total value equals my principal one plus my rate to the time exponent, just so you can kind of see here what I'm up to. Let me fold this over so you can see it on the screen a little easier. There we go. So we're just following this and plugging in the numbers that I have. Once I have them, type it in exactly as you see it. The exponent button on the calculator's in here, if you haven't been messing with it a lot, is right above the divide button. This up arrow, it's called a caret, turns things into an exponent, and then I can put any exponent I want in there. I can't just do times 5. I got to have the exponent. And so I sit there and I'm like, all right, so 58, 15, 73. We're talking about money. Am I going to mark it wrong if I put 72? No. But normally we look at that third number and we're saying, hey, if that's bigger than 5, we're going to round up. And that's it on this one. Nothing else fancy. I don't have to subtract nothing. I'm not looking for anything else. Follow that to a T and you're good. And we're working through those. So you're like, okay. It's amazing how much stuff we're doing in like just over a week's period here with some of this stuff. It's crazy. Okay, I'm actually going to do 10. Because 10's different. It says, what is the interest earned on a bond fund where $5,000 was deposited, earning a 3.5% as a decimal? Just divide 3.5 by 100. Rate for 10 years. So, I still am going to be finding my total value. You're like, but you want to find interest. Yes, but I got to know the total value before I can. So I can't just skip to this because I don't know that yet. So 5,000, 1 plus 0.035, my rate, to the t power. So, you may be wondering, maybe not, I don't know. You may be wondering, though, why do I have to go ahead and do this funky thing with an exponent? Why can't I just stick this into I equals PRT? And the reason is it's compounding. The interest that you haven't paid, or in this case, earned yet, we're going to keep stacking money on top of it. So in this case, when we're earning it, oh, it's a lot better than if we just got simple. So, you're like, okay, my total value is $7,052.99. But that's not the answer. The answer is going to be taking my total value, the $7,052.99, and subtracting the principal. Okay, so why does this work? Because if I know how much money I had at the end after I got my interest, and I know how much money I started with, the amount in between is how much money I made on it or got extra. So the interest is the difference. Again, maybe that's something you want to make note of on your help sheet in that other examples area. You get that down, you're like, okay, if only I want the interest, here's how I get total value, but I got that one extra step that I have to do. So let's see here. That's total. That's straight interest earned. Ooh. We did that. We had that up there. Let's go to 13. Bounce around a little bit here. All right. Pike Shoes has an unpaid previous balance. Ooh. Yeah, that's okay. Of $8,562.78. The creditor charges them a finance charge at a monthly rate of 1.75% on the previous balance. How much interest is being charged? So I pull this back out and I go, okay, finance charge. Total of all unpaid balances Well, this time, it's only that one number. If there was more than one number here, I'd add them up first. But this time, it's only the one. So 85, 62, 78 times the finance charge. Looks like about $149.85. So the only difference between 13 and 14 is going to be on 14, you've got to add those together first, then multiply it by the percentage instead. So on a shocking note, tomorrow's quiz, we'll have 14 questions. Okay. So I would take my time for the rest of the period to do one of two, if not both things. I would do the other ones and come check my answers or check them on Classroom. And I would spend the other part of my time figuring out if there were problems that we did together or you did on your own that you would like to include in your other or extra examples areas, because it's totally legal. Anything you have on the front of this paper, you can put some of those. Now, would I write every single problem on there? No. That's going to be a mess. You're never going to find what you want. You're going to get confused. But a couple of examples, if you find them, I think would help. And if you get done with everything and you want to, turn a packet in or something, you can. But keep your help sheet. Keep your review and be ready to go.